Do I have to? Fine. So, if you haven't seen the movie Rainbow Rocks yet, go see it. Even if it is the leaked version. Also, I feel bad that I saw the movie this way, but I'll buy it on DVD one way or another. I promise, Lord Hasbro. Alright, so everyone who doesn't want to be minorly spoiled gone? Yes? Good? Then let me just say, I was right! I called it! I knew it! You can go see the posts if you need proof, but I called it! The villains in the movie are none other than... That's right, the G1C ponies have arrived. In a sense. Or sea pony-like, but I'll get to that in a minute. First, though, I should give my 2 bits on the villains in the movie, although not the movie itself. Shame to say, I can't see it in theaters because small town, plus parents who don't know I'm a brony. You can figure out from here, right? In fact, take a note. If I ever get a moment with Dr. Wolf, go over my fears with my parents and what it would mean coming out to them. Well, because of this, I will refrain from a full movie review until I can see it in HD. But, to sum up what I did think of the movie, I really liked it. Yeah, it has its problems just like the first one, but you know what I say? I say a great movie is a movie that exceeds your expectations, and this movie did just that. Although, as for the villains themselves, they're more meh. Unlike what I'm sure a lot of people will say about them as characters, I don't see them as that bad. The blue-haired one, Sonata, right, has some potential as the idiotic one of the group, sort of a cross between Ty Lee from Avatar and Zeus from Gravity Falls. She had a few good lines in the beginning, but then that was kind of it, honestly. However, I want to look more at what they are, rather than who they are, and they are as sea ponies, or rather, as the movie calls them, Sirens. In another storybook-style clip, we learned that they once caused chaos throughout Equestria, feeding off the negative energy in the process, till good old Star Swirl the Bearded came along and banished them to the Equestrian Girls universe, where he believed they couldn't use magic. Fast forward to the show's present somehow, and you get our villain still alive, hungry for magic. How this is possible, I'm just going to go with they're immortal story like Discord. But if we're lucky, we might get an explanation later on. Although personally, I think they're a nice little nod to Greek mythology, since sea ponies are the equivalent to mermaids of our world, who are known for their enchanting voices. Also, you could argue that the necklaces they wear are a little nod towards Disney's The Little Mermaid. At least I think so. Yet, I suppose it's still possible we might get sea ponies in the show that are more like the Generation 1 sea ponies, simply because these characters are referred to as Sirens, and we see their sea pony forms both in the exposition and climax flying around, while it still looks like they are sea ponies, which, in my opinion, is a rather brilliant nod towards Sirens, who, depending on who's telling the story, are either depicted as mermaid-like creatures or something more like harpies. And apparently with these characters, at least in their design and forms, they got a perfect balance between the two. Now, the most famous example of sirens from ancient myths comes from the Odyssey. The most famous examples of siren in ancient history would have to come from the Odyssey, where, in the story, to survive passing by the siren's lair, the sailors would stuff earwax into their candles to avoid the hypnotic singing spell. So naturally, when I saw the first clips of these girls using their powers, I couldn't help but notice the similarities, with the only difference eventually once we saw the movie between them are that one group wants to lure sailors to their deaths, while the other just wants to suck all the magic they can out of people. Although the one thing I did have some problems with this, aside from the villains themselves being bland, and this is the point where I will be warning that I will be giving away major spoilers. So just feel free to skip to the end. The part I did have problems with is when their necklaces were destroyed in the end, and they don't have any natural singing powers, which came off as odd to me. I mean, this is Rarity's singing voice for Celestia's sake. Oh well, I guess it's just a minor problem, all things considered. And I guess you could look at it as another nod towards Disney's The Little Mermaid. Hang on a minute. The villain in the first movie was Twilight's singing voice. This one we have Rarity's singing voice as the villain. So, I wonder if we got a pattern going on here. Well, either way, while the villains as characters don't work really well in the movie, their origin story on how it expands the mythos of Equestria and how it parallels the mermaids of ancient Greek myth is done wonderfully. Probably the best I've seen in the show so far, to be quite honest. But what do you got to say? Think these three villains will return for revenge one day? And what other adventures do the students of CHS have in store in their future? If there is one. Write it below, and I'll see you next time.